Hi, I'm Tara Lynn of Geek Saga Entertainment, here with my co-host Manny for the Geek Saga podcast series, 90s and Noughties Cringe Factor. This series focuses on some of those problematic teen movies, rom-coms from the 90s and early 2000s that we is it love to hate or hate to love?
Either way, I'm Manny, and for our 5th episode, we're having it out with what could be considered the final boss when it comes to cringe factors. A movie that was released almost exactly 25 years ago and both mirrored and shaped some of the, let's be real, worst cultural norms of that time. American Pie.
American Pie, which was supposedly based on writer Adam Hertz's high school experiences in East Grand Rapids, Michigan, is about a group of dudes who make a pact to lose their virginity before they graduate high school. The main members of this little crew are awkward nerd Jim, overconfident jock Chris, aka Oz, Kevin, who doesn't seem to have his own personality other than having a girlfriend, but is also somehow the group leader, and Finch, who I guess is supposed to be mature for his age because he drinks mochachinos or some shit. Oh, and for some reason, they're friends with Stifler, who is somehow popular despite being the most obnoxious person pretty much ever, but we'll get into that more later.
Right, so the 4 presumably less awful of these 5 friends are all still virgins, and they certainly can't have that still be the case when they graduate. Needless to say, as per the usual with these 90s and Noughties teen movies, hijinks ensue as they pursue the loss of their V-cards, with everything coming to a head at Stifler's post-prom house party.
Anyway, we'll begin our discussion with a list of 10 things we hate about this movie, then suck it up and admit 1 to 3 things we actually liked in our These Are All That section. We'll also rate American Pie on a cringe factor scale of 1 to 10 Zach Morris's before concluding with our Watch This, Not That suggestion for the episode. But before we get started, you can follow me and therefore all of the Geek Saga endeavors at A Geek Saga on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube.
And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Manissimo Art.
Last but hopefully not least, we hope that you'll check out the Geek Saga Entertainment Patreon. We got a bunch of tiers starting as low as $1, and it's a great way to support us and receive some fun perks in return, including early access to these 90s and Noughties Cringe Factor podcast episodes. Check it out at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.
And now it's time for the 10 things we hated about this movie.
Only 10 somehow.
Only 10.
Number 1, the guys that are part of this little crew, the ones who, want to lose their virginity, pretending to be something they aren't and or outright lying to girls in their attempts to get laid. So there's a lot that is packed into this. There's also just like casual and even a lot of outright misogyny all the time when it comes down to this whole thing where they're pretending to be things they aren't and lying about themselves, lying to other people, et cetera, including treating women like property. As I said, having zero problem pretending to be something they aren't and or even outright lying to women kind of like constantly. This includes Finch spreading rumors about himself to attract girls, Chris joining Glee Club or whatever it is, Jazz Club, whatever. It's some sort of a cappella singing group.
Something.
I think they call it Jazz Club, but it's Glee Club, right?
I thought it was like chorus or something.
Either way, he joins it in hopes of tapping the potential of a group of girls who don't know him. And I'm just going to throw this in here because I have no other place to put it. But this is the same dude who made the comment at the very beginning of the movie that if there's any channel that should be illegal, it's that all women's channel, lifetime supply of pantyhose or something like that. So when I do say some possibly sort of somewhat positive things about this character later, I'm saying this now that he said this thing to remind myself that he's still not great. He's probably the one that actually changes the most, except for maybe other than Jim, but we'll get more into that. So this whole idea of being able to like have rumors spread about yourself, the popping into the random club honestly is the more believable of the two. And for somehow this guy can actually sing, although I do find it funny that everybody in the club acts like he's way more talented than the guys who've been in there forever. When I listening to him sing, no,
but story plot.
Yeah.
So I don't know where to start with this. This is a tough one. So, okay, joining the Glee /chorus/jazz club, whatever, just to get like untapped potential or whatever the hell. Like if I would have been doing that, let's just say in some alternate universe, there's like an evil Manny and that's what he's doing right now, you know, I would have been like, oh, wait a minute, I can sing a little bit. Maybe I'll just stick around and just kind of keep doing this, not for the girls, but just because it's nice to find talent or something like that. And it was so cliche, like even for a movie at this time, because when was the movie? It was like 99 or something when this came out.
Yeah,
like,
it was 25 years ago, July.
Oh, Jesus. Wow.
So yeah, July 1999 was when it was released.
It's just such a rehashing, I guess, like idea that's just like, okay. And my thing too is like, you know, when you get into this concept of like pretending to be somebody else or like going outside your normal lines to try to like pick up a girl, like you realize if you're just going to sleep with her, you're going to have to deal with the stress of telling her that you don't want to see her anymore after that. Or if you do decide to be in a relationship with her, then you're going to be living a separate life, not the life of who you actually are, which drives me. It was just stressful thinking like that's where my brain is. I don't know if maybe it's just because I don't know. I guess I just got old and I'm just like, that's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of the after logistics of it, you know, where it's like, I don't want to deal with that stress. No, forget it. I'll just stay virgin. Thank you.
Chris did actually have talent, but like, what if he hadn't? Did he know he could sing when he joined?
I don't know.
There's no clue that he did.
No, there's no backstory on that, but I have a feeling that he probably spent some time like in church choir or something and was like, oh, wait a minute, I can do this. And they just kind of like left that part out. So now the rest of us are just kind of filling in the blanks of what his backstory is now with singing.
Well, I mean, heaven forbid they do like any sort of character building in this movie.
There's no characters to be building at all here, you know, at all.
Oh, yeah. And the rumors thing is just, that works.
Okay, so I have a story about that one. So I've done this before. It wasn't to attract girls. So I had like a handful of friends. This was like really young to me. I think I was like 15 years old. And I had realized that I was a little more open back then. So I would like confide about certain things like to people and, you know, kind of confide in people and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling about this. And the girl who broke up with me kept finding out about it. So I'm like, how the fuck is she knowing these things? You know, because she's like potentially use it against me. So what I started doing was every time I hung out with one of my friends alone, I just told them a straight up lie. And then I did it with every single one of these guys or girls, but told them a completely different story. So that way I can see which one came back. So when the ex would come up and say, oh, well, but you did this. And then I'm like, okay, I know who said it now. I know where the leak is coming from. It wasn't to like attract girls.
Number one is our most generic of the 10 things we hated about this movie, I think. So moving on to number 2.
Oh my God. Why is anyone friends with Stifler?
For real, though, he's so fucking rude and obnoxious to literally everyone. Randomly smacks girls' asses. He's the one who suggests that they secretly record Nadia. Oh my God, he's so gross.
The only conclusion I can come to is that it's because he throws parties and everybody wants to go to his party. That's how I feel he became the popular person, because they got a house that they throw parties in. I guess nobody else had a house, or, you know, parents would let him throw parties in their house. That's the only thing I can think of that I was like, that's why Stifler's popular.
I mean, for sure, I definitely know, even as adults, even as close to middle-aged adults, people who are overly obnoxious and somehow are friends with everybody. But they're not as obnoxious as this, right? They're not calling everybody nasty names and like nasty names, smacking random girls' asses. I think in the hallway he did that. And of course, this is like kind of a par for the course of the times, but when he's kind of like, Chris is singing, so he must be gay. Stifler, actually. Like,
look, the thing is that you can be socially awkward, you can be socially obnoxious, but when you're just mean, you know, and you're just a fucking asshole, the way Stifler is, it's like, dude, come on. I want to have a house that I can go to have parties at, but that's not a price that I'm willing to pay to like be friends with someone like that.
No. There's not even much more to say about it, because just why? Even back then, like even when this movie came out in 99, I remember watching it and being like, ew.
Yeah.
It's not even like you could say he's like super hot so he can get away with it, which was also kind of a sign of the times. And in a way still is in some circles at some ages, whatever. But back then, not super hot. But you're right. I think it's literally just because he's the house party guy.
And you know what I think makes his character so repulsive? It's going to be a weird statement. The reason I feel like his character is so repulsive is like, you remember when we watched the other ones, right? And we're like, they're caricatures of something. The caricature of the nerd, the caricature of the jock, all this kind of stuff. Stifler, I guess maybe the way the actor played him or the way he was written was actually pulled off to where it was very believable. That's a real person. And I think to me, that's where the repulsiveness comes from. You know what? I remember people who were just like this back in high school. You know, the fact that he played it so believably, and was it a caricature of that kind of person? No, I don't think that they really overdid it. I think he just nailed the actual part. It was just very believable to me. And I think that's why his character is so repulsive. There's a part of our brain that recognizes it as real, which I guess, you know, the actor is a good actor if you can pull it off like that.
See, that's interesting because I'll be honest, and this could just be me like not remembering specifics or whatever, but I don't really recall anybody. We definitely had assholes in my high school, right? And we had people who were obnoxious in one way or another, but I don't remember anybody that was like this over the top. So to me, it does appear to be a caricature. Stifler's probably the only real caricature to me. The rest of them are stereotypical, but not caricatures.
Yeah, I still come across people like that who kind of remind me of Stifler. And I think maybe that's for me because it's like, oh, yeah, I know people like this. Like, oh, great.
Speaking of obnoxious people, number 3, Pube Pizza Guy from She's All That, who was in like literally every 90s teen movie, or at least several of the ones we've watched so far.
Yeah.
Is also in this one, being as gross as ever. Seriously, every time he shows up in one of these movies, I just know he's going to be awful.
Yes, he was typecasted in this time period, you know, where it's like, you're that guy, you know, you're going to be the fucking Pube Pizza Guy, you know, like.
I wonder if he's done like anything. I know he's been in a bunch of things, but I feel like the last thing I remember him being in is like maybe early 2000s. He's just immediately just kind of annoying, I guess. He's not gross in the Pube Pizza way anyway, but then he is like, I'm the Shermanator, sophisticated sex robot sent back in time, blah, blah, blah. This might just be hilarious and ridiculous enough to not even be a thing we hate, the Shermanator thing, but it's still like, he is definitely a caricature too.
It's bad. Yeah. But when he did the Shermanator thing, I actually kind of laughed. I was like, all right, it's kind of funny. I was like, yeah, all right, you're a dumbass, you know? But yeah, I think he's one of these characters that gets played just like when he was the Pube Pizza Boy, that he's just bait, right? They always have these characters, they pull him in and they're literally fucking with you is what they're doing because they want you to be excited about this person's impending downfall. That's what they want. I see it as like in these movies, like the bait character. It's always the bait character. And this guy is clearly one of them.
Yeah, like he starts off just being annoying and obviously weird, and everybody's kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever, man. But then he pretends that he had sex with that one poor girl at the first Stifler party that's in the movie, which I'm rolling my eyes so hard about the whole lie of him like, oh yeah, we did it, guys. Like after he hugs her goodbye all sweetly, and props to her for publicly calling him out at prom when she finds out what he did. I mean, I guess if you're going to lie about something like that, why would you be so obnoxious about it? I don't know. Thoughts?
That's how I knew that it was bullshit. I'm like, come on, dude. Any of us dudes, when we first had sex back in the high school period, we were just like the deer in the headlights things. Like we had no idea what just happened. And we're like, oh, what? You know what I'm saying? And like, so this concept of like, oh, you have sex, so you're a man. Like, no, you don't become a man when you have sex. You just get kind of confused for a little bit. You have to kind of like shake it off where you're just like, whoa, that was strange. It's like kind of getting into a car accident and then surviving. That feeling, you know, where you're just like, oh, wow, okay. Yeah, that's that. Now what? So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, number 4.
Oh, God, this one. Okay. Speaking of Pube Pizza Guy, the gross out stuff. You know what? I want you can read this one. You can read this first one.
Even though I'm also like, so I watched this on a plane, y'all. Cum cup.
Yep. I had forgotten about this scene. I totally forgot about it.
I had to. And I'm like, I can't. This is as far as I can go with it. I was gagging on the plane. I'm practically gagging just thinking about it now. I don't think we need to say more about this. No. It's just one of the gross out things in this movie. So let's move on, right?
Yeah. Let's just fly right past this one. Yeah. I was 3 beers in at this point watching the film because I had to get pretty loaded to watch this film. And when this came up, I already knew what was coming. And I was like, oh, okay. But I didn't want to fast forward it because I was like, I have to watch it. Like if Tara is watching this and had to watch it on an airplane, like I have to suck it up and I got to do this. It's for the team. I got to take one for the team. I got to watch this.
Okay, well, also under gross out stuff is I do not care how iconic the pie scene is or that it's where this movie sort of takes its name from. I can deal with the fingers at first, but actually climbing up on the counter and sticking your penis into a pie, why? Also, that can't be healthy. There's like sugar and I'm not a pie person. While I have made pies,
not now anyway.
Been a long time. Yeah. And I can't remember what all goes into the apple pie filling, but for sure I think it's really just like sugar, apples, and maybe like one other thing. But
no.
Also, just side note, the note that Jim's mom left said, your YOU''RE favorite. And I could not stop thinking about it. That's not gross. It was just like I could not stop thinking about the UR favorite.
The UR.
But seriously, why with the pie? Again, there's no way he didn't have some sort of infection or something. I don't even know after the gross.
My thing wasn't even like the health part of it, right? I always ride the edge of health anyway, you know what I'm saying? So wasn't even thinking so much. You're absolutely right. But I was like, dude, why did you like get on the kitchen counter and like do this? You know, your parents are coming home at some point. It wasn't like they were gone for the weekend and they surprised you and came home. Why don't you just take it to your bedroom? And then just feign ignorance, like, oh, I don't know what happened. I didn't even see a pie when I came out. I wonder what happened to it, you know? And then you just, I guess, have your way with the pastry upstairs alone in peace.
I guess like not on your bed because messy, but yeah, right there. And also that kitchen is kind of like there's windows and like I'm pretty sure the door had a window. It wasn't somebody outside like walking their dog or something could have looked in and seen like somebody just prone on the counter, the whole situation. And listen, I know it's supposed to be ridiculous and Jim's dad is supposed to walk in on him. It's kind of like one of the points of the movie, but for Christ's sake, like you said, take it to your room, my dude.
Yeah, dude, just take it to the room, man, you know?
There's other gross stuff in this movie, but these were the top three, with the third one being pooping is hilarious. Pooping. Honestly, I don't understand what the big deal is with this. So what happens, Stifler calls him shitbreak because he goes home to take a crap. First of all, it must be nice to be that regular. So what happens is Stifler, again, what the fuck, huge asshole, puts essentially a ton of X-Lax in Finch's mochaccino. So Finch can't make it home. So he runs to the bathroom and, okay, it is embarrassing to get what is essentially sick like that in public, period.
Yep.
And them being in high school for sure makes it worse, especially as Stifler, again, guided Finch into the girls' bathroom. And sure, it was gross. The explosion, such as it was.
Yep.
I mean, at least he made it to the fucking toilet. Sure, it was gross, or I would not be mentioning it as part of this gross out point here, things that we hate. But why would the crowd standing around outside the bathroom waiting to laugh at him? And this just undoes all of the rumor stuff about him entirely in one fell swoop. This is dumb, if you ask me, because people get sick.
Yeah, and that's what made me think, like, well, what rumors did you tell? Like, I mean, is it that you're invincible? You've never been sick a day in your life? You don't go to the bathroom? What is it that literally just brought the curtain down, that everybody saw you were a real boy after this happened? Dude, no, bro. Everybody gets sick and everybody has had that time. I don't know. And I really felt that this was probably the weakest point of writing in the actual movie. I felt like there was one guy who just wanted to get in that like slapstick kind of something in there. And he's like, no, we gotta do this. Like he was maybe just like an old school writer or something.
We gotta have some dirty, gross farts, guys.
Exactly. Like this movie doesn't have enough farts. We gotta put one in it. You know, let's put a few more farts in there. And then everybody's like, okay, Dad, we'll let you write this again one time. But you know, that's it after that. That's what I felt was kind of happening there. It was just kind of out of place and ridiculous.
Oh my God. All right.
This movie hurts like a fist.
We're almost halfway through this list, but the first four things that we hated were the briefest ones.
The briefest ones, exactly. Oh, it gets better, guys.
Better? Does it, though?
Buckle up.
Oh, God. Number 5 is the pact to have sex.
Oh, my God.
This is our very manhood at stake. Don't even get me started. That's literally what one of them says. I can't remember which one. This is our very manhood at stake. Like, oh God, you're not a man if you're still a virgin at like 17 or 18.
Yeah, exactly.
In case it's not clear, I'm being fucking sarcastic.
Yeah, exactly. Dude.
And like, okay, it's the 90s, but also, Christ. Holy shit, by the way, I did not remember that they only had 3 weeks to find girls to seduce. Which cringe, with the exception of Kevin, who has a girlfriend. They all just have to find some girl to seduce in 3 weeks in high school.
Yep. No, bullshit.
It was just bullshit. 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Even if I hadn't been raised super Christian and part of this like purity culture nonsense, I would not have been sleeping with somebody after 3 weeks in high school. And I'm not judging anybody who might have done that. Okay. Like I am not. I really am not. But this is also the 90s and things were different then than they are now, first of all. And second of all, just the idea that all 4 of them could somehow, I'm sorry, let me rephrase. Because Kevin, again, 3 of the 4 of them could just find somebody to seduce within 3 weeks. Maybe things are different now. And again, I want to be very, very clear that I am not shaming anybody who made the decision to sleep with somebody within any amount of time. Have your fun, man. Enjoy your sexuality. As long as it's safe and consensual. And that's the thing that bugs me about this movie is that it didn't really feel like any of them were necessarily looking for something safe and consensual. Maybe a couple of them found it. Yeah. But it didn't feel like that's what they were looking for.
No, I definitely feel like, I mean, yeah, again, I totally agree with you. As long as it's consensual, I don't shame anyone for that. If you go out for a night and you're just like, oh, well, I just want to go sleep with somebody and it's like a consensual thing. Okay, look, man, go get yours, girl, or go get yours, boy. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? As long as it's consensual. I mean, who cares? You know, even in like a high school standing, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do, whatever, man. So yeah, definitely no shame in that game, you know, but the way these people make it and the hardest part for me, that was like the worst part. All of these people could have gotten laid without even trying. Really, if they just were just normal fucking people, they probably could have. They had girls that liked them. Just go do your stuff. Go be yourself. That's it. And honestly, I don't think there even would have been a race to lose your virginity if all these guys were just honest with each other for 5 minutes and say, you know what, I'm not really into that. But none. I felt like none of them wanted to take that leap because then everybody would be like, you know, Stifler would probably say something about them, as opposed to like, well, you know, guys, I just want to have a good rest of the year and let's just leave it on that, you know. And if something happens, it happens. Cool. And when you have that mentality, then yes, you will get laid. Guaranteed.
Yeah, but I mean, like, as we said at the top of the episode, well, as you specifically said at the top of the episode, that this movie both mirrored and shaped cultural norms at the time. Yep. I was from a small town, so I think it was a little bit different. But when it comes to these, you know, big city, I don't know how Grand Rapids isn't a big city as far as I know, but it's a city for sure bigger than the one I came from. Not as big as Miami. Yeah, gotta get that Miami reference in there for you.
Gotta get it in there. Yep.
But I don't know, man. It just.
I was part of the dork crowd in like high school and I was having sex. Absolutely. I mean, I was having sex because when I hit like the grunge phase, right? When I got into the grunge phase, then that's when I was like, oh yeah, the girls liked me at that point. I had long ass hair. I was all looking like Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam, the big raggedy hair, and the girls loved that. But it was all the like alternative girls. Like, I don't know what the character's name is, but Natasha Leone from Orange is the New Black was in this movie. Yep. Those were the kind of girls that I had attracted and like talked to because I loved them. You know, it was like great. They were just more down to earth, but I didn't care about getting laid or I don't know. Yeah, that stuff is just dumb.
I was from a very small town and a very small school. When you're in that small of a group of people, I mean, my graduating class was like 150 people. I think my high school was maybe 500, 550. It might have even been less than 500 my freshman year, the whole high school. And so when I entered high school, I still had glasses. I never wore makeup. And then like in my freshman year, I was a Lainey Boggs, right? My hair was, I think, too short to wear a ponytail, but eventually, like, let's just say my hair came out of the ponytail and I got contacts and wore some basic makeup. And it was like, oh, Tara is like a person, not just some weirdo nerd. Yep. Because of that, like it came to a point probably like my sophomore year, I had my first like real boyfriend and I could have lost my virginity. But again, like I said, I was part of that purity culture, raised very Christian. So I didn't in high school. Okay. Anyway, now that I've like gone totally off track and none of my personal story really matters here.
Like this movie, we're just derailing is what it is.
So in terms of this whole pact to have sex, I will give Kevin minor props for admitting that he is not sure that he loves Vicky and he doesn't want to say he loves her or lie about it just to get her to sleep with him. But then in the end, Kevin is overly obsessed with the pact and is pressuring his friends, which leads to Jim and even Chris to kind of like throw in the towel on the losing their virginity thing. And honestly, Jim's commentary in that conversation and that little argument is pretty great. But all that aside, in the end, Kevin tells Vicky that he loves her anyway. Even though just a couple hours before that, he was telling his friends he wasn't sure he did. But he does it because he knows that's what she wants to hear before she will sleep with him. So, sigh.
Yeah. I never understood that bullshit of, I don't know what you'd call it, that spring break fucking mentality, right? Where it's like, yeah, we're going to go out, get some pussy. Yeah. I never surrounded myself with people like that. Yeah. So when I watch movies like this, sometimes I'm just like, well, is this just maybe like a 2000s thing and I was just too old at that time and I was kind of over that? Or is it just because I just never surrounded myself with that frat boy kind of bullshit? I hated frat boys so much. I just wanted to burn down fraternities every time I saw one. Like I just hated those people so much and I never associated with that fucking mentality. I don't know. So I guess I just never did it. And the thing with me is that I was like one of those guys that if you in high school or like even right out of high school, if you slept with me, forget it. I was in love. Dude, this is it. It's permanent now. Like I want to be with only this person forever. I was like that. I never had that, what other people had where it was like experience stuff, go out, have sex, experience and just kind of have fun. And like, I never had that. I wasn't conservative when I was in high school, but when I got out of high school, I went full on monk is what happened, dude. Because I went through like some panic attack stuff and then I got into martial arts and I became the guy in Kung Fu where I was just roaming the earth, man. And that was it. That was all I was doing. I wasn't interested in like women or sex or anything like that. So I missed out on that.
I wouldn't call that conservative necessarily because everybody has their own idea of like what sex and or intimacy should be. Yeah. And I am a serial monogamist, but I absolutely have gone out and had my fun.
Yeah.
Part of this might be that I was not part of the sort of like jock / popular kid crowd in high school that might have had these sorts of mindsets. But even if I was like, I don't ever remember hearing things like, oh, so-and-so just wants to get laid, blah, 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 blah. Again, maybe there were people like that and I just wasn't involved in those groups or whatever. Certainly my guy friends weren't like that. But at the end of the day, did I experience that? Yes, but I didn't experience it until I did the Walt Disney World College program. They literally called the apartment complex we lived in, which was officially Vista Way, Vista Lay.
Oh, wow.
So like I've experienced the grossness,
yeah,
but it wasn't until I was several years removed from high school. So I don't know, man.
It's like a weird thing, because I just wasn't part of it. I definitely, like, if there was one regret I had in life is that I definitely wish I would have had more fun back then. I was wound up way too tight, and I understand that was a time in my life that had to happen in order for me to kind of level out as a person. Because when I was young, I was very different. I was very angry and I was just and when the pendulum swang in the opposite direction, like I said, I just became like this monk. Like I was just like this, roaming the fucking earth, you know what I'm saying? And not doing anything that wasn't just 100% zen and like peaceful. But you get older and now you have responsibilities and you have all this kind of shit. And it's like, man, I really missed out because it would have been nice to like, I don't know how it would sound, but it's like just to have connections with people on that physical level, not just to like, oh, get your rocks off because, if it's just getting my rocks off, sure, I can just do that on my own. But you know what I'm saying? Like just have that connection, those experiences, and I do regret kind of missing out on that when I was younger.
Well, one of the notes you have here is that you've already stated that you never understood like the whole like frat house bullshit of snatching girls. But in our notes, you say there was not that there weren't people like this back then, right? But they pushed it to 10. Like these guys pushed it to 10. And I just have to say, to be quite honest, I'd say they pushed it to like 10,000.
Yeah, I was just trying to keep it on an actual scale, but you're absolutely right. They pushed it to fucking 10,000 on this, like, and
since when have we ever obeyed any of the scales?
That's true. But it was so weird with this movie. He just hit a point for me where it's like, I couldn't decide whether I was watching a high school movie or like a college frat house movie.
Yeah. Like Animal House.
Yeah. Like Animal House. Like it had more of a college feel to it. And then you'll hear like the big surprise twist in the end when I say one of the things that I liked about this. We'll save it for the end, but.
Okay. So number 6.
Oh, the Bible that started as a book from Amsterdam. That Bible.
Okay. So first of all, I'm just going to say, why is there like tribal music playing when Kevin is reading it? Like it needed that extra cringe factor of tribal music.
No, yeah.
It came from Amsterdam, you guys. Like,
yeah, like seriously, you couldn't have added something like, maybe some Amsterdam style music or some European, music. Yeah, exactly. Right. That's the song that would have played when I would have opened it. I'm like, dude, I'm ready for this.
Oh my God.
No, I guess the tribal music, because when you think of tribal music, it's like, oh, ancient wisdom from the past and like all this stuff.
Yeah, but also, no.
I had a problem with this, okay, dude, because every woman is kind of different. Everyone is different. Everyone likes something different. And to kind of like say like, well, this is what it is, and this is like the key to everything. I wouldn't have called it the Bible, maybe like a guide, maybe, a suggestions. But to say it's like a Bible really just kind of puts back into the fact that it's like all women are the same. They're all generalized. This is all what they like. And this is exactly how you please them, and it's like, okay, well.
Yep. And also not true.
Not true.
I can say this having also been with several women.
There you go. Exactly.
I'm using the term several as a generalization because it's nobody's business.
It's nobody's
women
business.
I've been with. One note I had on this is I suppose we can give this movie like a little bit of props for the idea that they did want to try to please a woman.
Yes.
That's why this Bible, quote unquote, such as it is, exists. And that Kevin's older brother would not tell him where to find this Bible until Kevin said he was truly interested in making sure that Vicky got the same pleasure that he gets from their hooking up. Having not lost my virginity in high school, I still knew what an orgasm was. So I guess I got lucky with my high school boyfriends.
This is one of those things in the movie that like you point out and it makes me think where I'm like, shit, you know what? I didn't think about it in that light. And this is the same thing and the same reaction that I had when we watched Can't Hardly Wait. And I fucking hated the Seth Green character. I was like, I fucking hate this guy. And then you were like, yeah, but think about it for a minute. He has a bag full of things to pleasure the woman. Like he really wants to make sure the woman's taken care of. And I'm like, fuck, you're absolutely fucking right. Shit. This is like one of those things too. Like, yes, the Bible, it should just be more of like suggestions, but in the end, it is a book about, hey, this is what could pleasure a woman and make them like it. Like, okay, so it's the book about giving is what it is, like, okay, I get that, it wasn't like a book about sexual positions where it's like, this is how you got to do it, man. It's like, no.
Yeah. Everybody touts the Kama Sutra and I'm just like, really though?
No, dude. No.
Come on, guys. Come on. I'm not saying the Kama Sutra is bad or wrong, but
it's like testing paint colors in your room, right? You paint your room and you're like, fuck, I don't like this color. I want to fucking do a different fucking color. And that's the way I've always kind of seen it. It's like, you just got to try stuff and just kind of, you're going to swing and miss and you're going to swing and hit. And then, and if you're with the right person or then they're willing to like, mess with it. Like, okay, then you figure it out. But
it's also a lot of the Bible kind of also, I guess, ignores the idea of the girl having like you said, it kind of treats them as like, this will work no matter who you're with.
Yeah.
But it also ignores like, what if a girl says, I don't want that. I don't like that. No, please stop that. Like, I don't know. Were there suggestions of like, oh, well, if she says she doesn't like it, do this instead. I don't know. The whole thing was just like, I give them a little bit of props for it existing and the idea of it being, yes, let's pleasure a girl. And I will, again, give Kevin's older brother props for not telling him where it was until he said, I want to make sure that she feels the same like pleasure I feel. But
yeah,
this is probably one of the lesser ones, honestly, of the things that we hate, but still.
Yeah, I think we've dissected the frog. The frog has been dissected and we're just ripping it open at this point. And now we're just foaming at the mouth because we just want more. So we're ripping this one apart.
Yeah, because guess what? It gets way worse from here.
Way worse, man.
Holy Speaking fuck. Of worse,
here we go.
Number 7.
Buckle up, guys.
What the absolute ever loving fuck with Jim recording Nadia in his room. There are no words. There are no excuses. I simply cannot. It was just as bad when he was doing it for only his friends.
Yep.
Even before the whole oops, he sent the link to the whole school thing. I'm going to throw this in here. Side note, also, how unrealistic is it that Nadia had never really even spoken to Jim before asking him to help her study for history or whatever it was? And then when she's left alone in his room to change because she had some sort of sports ball practice beforehand, she goes through his stuff and then starts stripping and masturbating on his bed. Come on. The summary, very brief summary that I wrote for this movie, when I said that the writer Adam Hertz or whatever the fuck his name was, who cares, based this on his high school experiences. It's like, how much of this was based on your high school experience, my dude?
Yeah, that's like,
where did this come from?
That maybe been a fantasy is what it is.
In what world does this insanely, and I'm not even saying, I'm saying insanely hot girl because she is, Shannon Elizabeth, super hot. Yeah. But like, in what world does some insanely hot girl go over to some boy that she's barely ever talked to's house to study? Maybe it was kind of like, oh, he seems kind of cute. Maybe I'll ask him to help me study. But then you just strip naked and stay naked and go through his things and start masturbating to his magazines.
Look, maybe she was just thirsty and she just wanted something, which is fine.
That's fine. That is fine.
And that's the thing that drove me the most nuts about this is like, you have Shannon Elizabeth, who is beautiful. She is very beautiful. And you have an opportunity to sleep with this girl. Now, you can either sleep with her and then enjoy it and be like, oh my God, I cannot believe that shit fucking happened. And then maybe something grows from it, maybe something doesn't, right? But your friends seeing it and recording it on top of it, it's like, now you're fucking ruining it. Like, you could have, like, real gangsters don't have to prove shit. I'd easily have just slept with Shannon Elizabeth and said, dude, this totally happened. And they're going to say, you're full of shit. I'm like, you can believe whatever the fuck you want, but that memory is not going away in this lifetime. That is here to fucking stay. I don't give a shit because you have that confidence now. You're like, dude, I slept with Shannon Elizabeth. So it's all cards. You know, I don't care what you guys think. You guys can think that I was gay or sleeping with another apple pie or whatever the hell. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? But like, I did it.
And I think that, and again, this is, first of all, not me shaming like masturbation or anything like that. Period. Would never. But it's just the idea of this girl going over to this boy's house who she's never really even talked to before asking for his help with studying. And she starts getting changed and then just struts around the room naked and pulls magazines out of his nightstand and starts masturbating to them on the bed. And hey, like you said, maybe she's just thirsty. And honestly, girl, I get you. Okay. Like, I'm here for it.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with it.
But I feel like we're getting off topic with this stuff because the real crux of the matter is, holy fucking shit.
She was videotaped.
He was recording her without her permission. And on top of that, first of all, that's some great 90s webcam action there. Yeah, that's a 90s webcam on dial-up internet.
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly.
Like, sure. Sure.
A little too many frames per second. If I remember correctly, it was about half a frame a second. So, you know,
I didn't have a webcam until I was out of college, later than that, maybe. Like, I think the first webcam I had was on one of my laptops, and this was like 2012 or something.
Yeah, that was probably
and it was not that good. But all that sort of like stupid, okay, whatever shit aside, oh my God, they knew that she said she was going to have to change, and they're recording her without her fucking permission.
Yep.
Gross. What the fuck? How dare?
I don't know what the laws were for that back then. There would have been some type of peeping laws, I'm sure, back then, just with like technically like CCTV televisions or cameras and shit inside your house and stuff. I'm sure there was something there that would have got them arrested. And not even talking about the like legality of it, but the traumatic experience of that. You can totally fuck someone's life up for the rest of their fucking life for that. That girl, like, she would have been changing her name and moving to a different state and just kind of
just move back to Czechoslovakia.
I always think of it like that, in that sense, where it's like, dude, not only is this shit illegal, but the traumatic repercussions that it could have.
And also, we're just supposed to find it hilarious that, oops, he didn't just send the link to his friends. He sent it to everybody in the school.
Yep. It's funny. Real. It's comedy. It's comedy, man. Hey, did you see how pretty Shannon Elizabeth was? I mean, come on.
I guess it's supposed to make it better that he shows back up in the room and then prematurely ejaculates twice.
Yeah, and that's what it really was. That was like their watering down of the crime, where it's like, oh, but look he's making an idiot out of himself and he didn't have sex in the end. Yeah, but he's still like
did this fucking terrible thing.
Yeah, and like everybody saw him and I love how they just wrote her off. They literally just wrote her out of the movie where it was just like, oh, she had to go back to Czechoslovakia. Oh, wow, you really didn't want to deal with those consequences, did you? Just write it off and it's forgotten about. That was it.
To be fair, in the end, there's a scene of him stripping in front of his not 1999 webcam.
No, definitely not. But it was kind of cute that it was with her and stuff like that. I was like, okay, that's cute.
I mean, yeah, like, girl, get yours, honestly.
But like, do you know what happened? Like, are you aware?
She has to. Everybody in the fucking school knew.
Yeah. Look, and maybe she's into that. Okay, look, maybe this was just one of those like weird stars aligning thing where it's like he recorded her and then she was like, well, number one, he walks in on her while she's changing and she's like, oh my God, how can you do that? But actually, I kind of totally into this. And it's like, oh, hey, awesome, great. And then with the webcam thing, I can't believe you did that, but I totally like doing that because I'm like an exhibitionist and stuff, which is great. Some people are into that. And maybe it was just like, dude, this is just a perfect girl for you, whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah, but you can't assume that,
You can't assume that. No, definitely not. You can do the like walking in on maybe not today. I could see that happening back then to where it's like, oh, whatever. When the girl says, no, my God, no, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. Then you fucking leave, like whatever, right? Like you're trying to be, but even that I don't even think would have been applicable because she didn't really show an interest in him. It wasn't like they were being like playful or something like that.
Either way, I think that, like you said, sure, cool. She's an exhibitionist and she is like, ha, that's funny that this happened, or I like that this happened. Yeah. I wanted to show off, but she didn't know it was happening before it happened. And that's unconsensual and fucking awful.
It's awful.
Even if she is like okay with it after the fact, do not do. I don't even understand how this was okay in 1999.
Yeah, I have no idea how that flew.
I mean, literally ever, let's be real. But, we're talking 25 years ago and webcams were just barely being a thing that existed as far as I know. Like I had dial-up internet in 1999.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I know that webcams and stuff existed back then, but it wasn't one of those things where you just assume that if somebody has a computer on in the room, they're recording you. She could be okay with it 6 ways from Sunday, but it doesn't matter because she didn't know about it ahead of time. You need that consent, motherfuckers. Oh, all right. Well, should we go on to number 8?
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. 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 Yeah. That one had to register for a minute. Okay. I'm sorry, but I did not come here for weirdly realistic, but somehow even more lame than real life prom. Okay. What was that, dude? That was like a dance. It was not the prom.
Seriously, I watch these movies for ridiculous proms, and this one is so lame. It's the lamest of the lame. Worst band ever, number 1.
No dance number.
Yeah. Listen, I can go without the choreographed dance number, okay? It doesn't track with 90s movie, like late 90s, especially in early 2000s movies. But okay, listen, let's say there's no choreographed dance number, but worst band ever, random half-ass decor. The girls are dressed like they're just going to any random dance. Like this is the shit I wore to like random high school dances. I was more dressed up for our semi-formal at my high school that happened in February every year. I don't need every prom we see to be on the never been kissed level, but wow.
But something, give us something. That was literally lame. Like it felt like people were just walking in there in the street clothes, like what they would have worn normally.
Well, to be fair, all the guys were in tuxes, but somehow the girls were just not in prom dresses. What is happening here? They were so obsessed with having sex. Well, no, that's not even true. I can't even say that because the guys were actually dressed in tuxes. What the fuck is it? Like who? The guy that wrote this movie, did he even go to prom? He was like, oh, I know guys wear tuxes to prom.
No, and it's weird because when you finally behold this prom picture that I'll send you, I'm just wearing just like a regular like suit with like a tie and like I looking nice. But the girlfriend who I was with, who was my best friend at the time, we actually became girlfriend and boyfriend later. She's dressed beautifully. Her hair is like made up like fucking beautifully and like all this shit. And there was none of that. It was just like, oh yeah, I just threw this thing on and I'm just showing up. to the prom?
So my prom in high school was on Friday every year for some reason, which is a weird thing, but we were allowed to leave school basically like at lunch to go get ready for prom. If you were going to prom, if you had a prom ticket, you just had an excuse, like a blanket excuse to leave school to go get ready. You know, you get your nails done, you get your hair done, you wear this dress that in the late 90s costs, like if you're lucky, $200, which is in the late 90s really fucking expensive.
Yep.
Even the less expensive prom dresses were still gown. Whatever the fuck this was, like you said, it looks like a regular dance.
Just a regular dance. That was it. Prom, and you're absolutely right. Even if someone went cheap on a prom dress, it still looked like a fucking prom dress, and they had corsage or whatever the fuck, and they had their hair done or something. With this, it was like, no, dude, this was like an after school thing where they were just like, yeah, just whatever, you know, just be sure to change out of your gym clothes, you know, and here we go. It was terrible.
So I guess in this movie, the prom was just like the pre-show to Stifler's stupid after party, but like, no, man, this is your prom. I do not know a single person. And I went to a very small high school, and our prom was on a Friday every year for some reason. And we got out of school at half a day so that, well, girls did, but I think guys could too. Like, it was always just like, if you have a ticket to prom, you just have a ticket to leave school for half a day to go get ready. Like I said, I was more dressed up for my fucking semi-formals at my school than they were for this, whatever the fuck this was. This wasn't a prom. This isn't a prom.
I'm going to say this, though. I'm going to say this, okay? At least I didn't hear the Macarena 10 times. Okay? It's that simple. When I was at prom, I literally heard that. They played that song so many times. And me and the girl, we would just like go outside and we were just smoking cigarettes, and we're just like, dude. And then we would find the person who would have the booze, and we're like, we need to get fucked up, because if we hear the Macarena again, I'm going to throw myself off this building. Can't do it.
Mine was Mambo No. 5 by Lou Vega.
Yeah.
Which didn't have a choreographed dance. So
no.
Moving on from their lame ass of lamest ass proms, number 9 is Michelle, the quote unquote band geek, tricking and quote unquote using Jim. As a femme presenting person, I'm going to say that I hemmed and hawed about making this one of the 10 things I did not like about this movie. But in the end, I felt like it would be hypocritical to not do so. Admittedly, I want to give her props for turning things on their head by pretending she didn't know what happened with Jim and Nadia to get in with him so she could get laid after prom. But if I'm going to call it problematic for the guys to lie about themselves in their attempts to get laid, then it has to also be problematic for her to do so, I think. Just because Jim was okay with being used because he got laid, that does not make the whole situation okay.
No, that is problematic, because coming from a male perspective, at least at this time, right? Let's just say at this time, because things are much different now. But the guy was the one who had to do the approach. The guy was the one that had to be the charmer. The guy was the one that had to like bring it in. So we all fantasized about the woman that was like the more powerful, where she's like, no, you're the one I want, and I'm fucking taking it. All of us have had that fantasy. And I wouldn't even say it's really like a fantasy. It's because we've been so conditioned. See, the thing is that a lot of guys have no idea that they're fighting through something, and they're breaking through this shell that they don't realize, right? Because they've been taught this masculinity thing from day one, which is completely false. It's fake, you know, and we've been just fed it since we were children, where it's, oh, the guys take what they want, and, you know, you got to charm a woman, and you got to like do this and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, no. So this was one of those scenes where, yes, I do want to say, yes, it's hypocritical, but there's a part of me where it's like, fuck, I just want to be taken care of. I want someone to like desire me. I want someone to like part the ocean and say, you're mine. And I'm not saying that it's right. And it's, you know, and yes, it's definitely hypocritical, but there's a part of, I guess, male culture, at least for like honest male intellectuals, that is like the ultimate breaking of the toxic masculinity thing. That is literally like just shattering the fucking shell at that point, because it's the exact opposite of what we've been taught our entire lives.
The thing that's bothersome to me is that she lied.
Yeah.
And like she did exactly what we talked about in not the number one of the 10 things we hate, but the number one first thing we talked about of the things we hate is that they were all pretending to be something they weren't or lying about who they were to try to get laid. And that's exactly what she did. Obviously, in 1999, it was like, oh shit. Ha, she did it. Oh, who cares? Because like Jim got laid and also she got what she wanted. And in a way, like, yeah, cool. She got what she wanted. And yeah, cool. He got laid, which is what he wanted. In the end, the actual act was consensual, but the lead up to it was not. And like I said, it's hypocritical for me or us to say it's not okay for them to do it, but it is okay for her to do it.
And you're right, and it is hypocritical, but coming from like a male perspective, like there's like a difference there.
Yeah,
where it's like a lot of men want that, especially in that high school time, because it was up to the guy to like, hey, I like you. The majority of women who I've been with the longest actually came to me first. And they said, hey, I like you, or I'm crushing on you, or something like that. I'm like, oh, wow. Like I was too. And I was never going to say anything because I'm one of those take it to the grave guys. Like if I like someone, you're never going to know about it ever. I'm going to take it to the grave. I'll never say anything. So when someone like comes up to you and says that, and then you like them too, you're like, oh shit. Wow. Because to me, it makes it more, I don't know, makes it more real, I guess, from my perspective. It just makes it more real, right? Because I can like charm a person and be like, oh, whatever. And they're like, oh, I like you. And I'm like, well, yeah, clearly I like you because I've been showing you that, right? And then when they just kind of like you for just being you and stuff, then you're just like, wow, shit. It makes you feel really good. And men never talk about it. And they can act as like cocky as they want and all that shit. Men have some of the lowest self-esteem on the fucking planet. So when someone comes at them, and I know that for this scene in particular, right, it was hard for me to separate the fact that they wind up getting married in the later movies. So that's the way I see it. And that's why it was harder for me to see it as like, oh, well, yeah, she, that's hypocritical or whatever, because I'm like, well, no, because they do fall in love and they do get married and they stay with each other, so she's not just like a typical guy who just wanted to get some and then take off.
No, but I think that's what she was in this movie.
I
don't think she knew. And also, again, I go back to, it's not about that she came onto him. It's about that she lied.
Yeah.
Like that's the part that is the problematic part. If she had come to him and been like, hey, saw that video, don't care. Do you want to go to prom with me? It would have been different. And I think that that's the movie. If they were to somehow remake this movie, God, please never don't know.
Don't.
But if they were to remake this movie based on more recent times, I think that would have been the story that would have been told, is her being like, yeah, whatever. I saw the stupid video. I don't care. Just go to prom with me. Even if she didn't leave with, you're going to get laid no matter what. It was the whole faking that she hadn't seen it and him being like, oh, I'm not going to get another prom date. And she hasn't seen the video because she's a band geek.
I mean, you're right. Look, I'm a firm believer in one rule to rule them all. I don't believe in, okay, well, this gender should have this set of rules and this gender should have this set of rules. I believe literally, I am like, when it comes to that kind of stuff, I'm a complete totalitarian. It's like one rule for everybody. And that's it. Period. So you're absolutely right.
And I think like, don't lie when you're trying to get with somebody for whatever reason you're trying to get with them. Just don't lie. Just don't lie.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. You ready?
Am I though? Are you?
All
Number
right.
10.
Okay. Last, but certainly not least, all the Stifler's mom stuff. Come on, dude. I thought she was in the movie more too. I didn't realize she was just kind of there towards the end. And maybe it's just because I've seen her in so much stuff now, because I really like her as an actress. She's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, she's great.
She's great.
Well, I just want to start this conversation with, what's with the quote, as if there was an alternative in the matter, unquote, comment that Stifler's mom, because by the way, we don't know what her name is. It's just Stifler's mom, makes when Finch thanks her for letting them have the party at her lake house. Is this implying that she, for some reason, can't tell her kid no or keep him from hosting parties at her houses?
I don't
What
know.
is happening here?
I know from like my parents' perspective, it's like I'd rather have them have a party at my house so that way I can keep an eye on them to make sure that none of them are going to drink and drive. None of them are going to do stupid shit.
Yeah, well, this doesn't seem like that sort of social.
No, not when Jennifer Coolidge is like in the basement somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like not observing what's going on.
Actually, harkening back to our last episode, it's like Regina's mom in Mean Girls.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm a cool mom.
I'm a cool mom. I'm not
But
like
like,
the other
I
moms.
don't feel like it's like that because Regina's mom is very much like, yeah, do the things. And Stifler's mom is like, God, I'm just stuck with this shit because my son is an asshole.
You got the fucking scotch in one hand and the cigarette in the other hand. I can totally relate. I get it. She's broken.
I agree. Let them have the party there and make sure they don't drive. But no,
That
I
wasn't the
don't want to
case.
say agree. That's not the word I want to use because making sure that kids have like alcohol available and like a party place available to them is
Plausible, but not probable is what it is. You know, like, yeah, I can see that, but
part of me is like, so is this like a situation where Stifler's like, whatever, mom, I'm doing what I want. And she like can't say no for some reason. I don't, is she a hostage? Like, do we need to send like help to Stifler's mom?
Yep.
I say this as I am about to go into this next point, which is no matter how much we all love Jennifer Coolidge, and we really do love Jennifer Coolidge, particularly from the Legally Blonde movies and White Lotus. If you have not seen White Lotus, fucking watch White Lotus. Oh my God, it's on HBO. Watch it. She is so fucking good. But seriously, if this had been a middle-aged dad and his high school daughter's female friend, everyone would automatically be like, big nope. Even though Finch is 18, and let's assume that in the opposite scenario, the girl is 18, big nope. But it's okay, quote unquote, in this movie / scenario because it's a woman and a high school boy.
Yeah, the concept is really when you really and look, I'm gonna tell you as a guy, we've all fantasized about this, right?
I'm sure.
Yeah, most guys, especially teenagers, love the concept of like an older woman, like a much older woman at the time. So I get where it comes from. However, on the flip side, are you ready? I'm going to give you the opposite side of this. And it's a movie that everyone's seen. And actually, one of the actresses stars in this movie, American Beauty. We have Kevin Spacey and Mina Savari. Same kind of concept. I think she's probably a little younger in that film. I think she was supposed to be 16 or 17 or something like that. Same concept, right? But completely opposite. Now, which one is gross? I guess it depends where you're like sitting from. But like the way I look at it, I'm like, I would look at it as like, oh yeah, Jennifer Coolidge, yeah, right? Because the thing is, to me though, it's different, right? Because it's not just like Stifler's mom, it's that it's Jennifer Coolidge, and like I know her, and she's extremely fucking charming, you know. So it's like, no, I'm in love. But yeah, looking at it from, and that was what I thought about when I watched that scene, and I was trying to come up with, okay, well, I can see how this is problematic, and I had thought about that. I'm like, well, what if this was on the opposite end? And then the first thing that came to mind, one of the scenes I was watching had nothing to do with Jennifer Coolidge, but it had Mina Savari in it, and I was like, oh shit, American Beauty, look at that. And here's Kevin Spacey, who's the older fucking guy trying to fucking get with this fucking, and he backed off in the end. You know, obviously he didn't, but still, that wasn't cool. No one was cool with that, but everyone was cool with Stifler's mom. So
also, just to make sure this is part of the conversation, not to mention, she makes the comment aged 18 years. Just the way I like it, implying that this is not the first time she's done something like this.
No, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's correct.
Yep.
It really comes down to that. Like, it would be legal for me to be in a relationship with an 18-year-old girl. And it's like, look, you know what,
I would
dude?
be fucking weirded out if my 23-year-old stepson was in a relationship or hooked up with a fucking woman older than me.
Yeah, that's like, look, just because it's legal, it doesn't mean that you should do it. Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, like we've both said, the whole thing of it is not okay if it's a femme presenting person who is, let's say, just 18 and a man who is Stifler's mom's age, whatever age she is. I mean, he's 18. So let's assume even if she had him young, she's like in her 40s. No, if it was a man that age and a 18-year-old femme presenting person, it would not be okay. In this case, sure, he's of age, but if you're not okay with it being an 18-year-old girl and a man in his 40s, or if you are, then you need to get some help because grooming is a fucking thing.
No, totally is. But again, I feel like the rules bend between genders sometimes.
It's always like, oh, the cougar.
Mm-hmm.
The cougar situation. In this situation, like, listen, Jennifer Coolidge, I don't find her like supremely attractive, but she has sex appeal.
She has sex appeal.
In this movie, she is like sex pot, middle-aged mom, and Finch is mature for his age.
Yeah.
First of all, then he like mochachinos, really?
Yeah, like for real.
Like I get it when he's like, oh, I like a scotch. Okay, that's fine. But like mochachinos, I'm sorry.
All right,
are you Trelb? Like you want to go to fucking Starbucks and order yourself a super skinny mocha frappuccino with like extra whipped cream or something?
Exactly.
Hold the coffee.
You're so mature. Hold the coffee.
But yeah, in this particular situation, this is not right.
No, it's not.
And here's the thing. I totally understand that there's this whole idea that a young masked person would be super into the idea of an older woman taking them under her wing and teaching them things. Yeah. That is still to this day. I am sure there are still books about it. Actually, Outlander is entirely like that. But it's okay in that sense. But if you turned it on its head, like you said, with American Beauty, we could talk about this for hours and it's still going to come down to the same thing. All right. Well.
Okay. So all that said, now it's time for us to dig deep, really deep, for a few things to add to her. These are all that lists.
My first one is the supporting actors, who I now love. I mean, I did then too, but even more so now, love so much. Eugene Levy, Natasha Lyonne, who was in Orange is the New Black. But just to dial it back a bit to Eugene Levy playing Jim's dad, he's a really great dad in this movie. But both of them are so good in this movie. Also, just side note, LOL, Blink-182 cameo with the monkey and everything, really, guys. But like Jim's dad is just a really great dad. And that's a big plus on its own. He is supportive of his son. He's trying to give him sex positive talks. Everything about Eugene Levy in this movie is chef's kiss.
Absolutely.
In a way, there's like a part of me that's like, is that how he is in real life too? Because like his son, Dan Levy, who plays his son in Schitt's Creek as well, is also a fucking treasure. My other thing is Oz being honest about the pact with Heather and renouncing it and then not telling his friends whether or not they actually had sex. He's like, we had a good night. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, listen, I don't love Oz, but I absolutely respect. Throughout this movie, he absolutely grows the most as a character, as I mentioned earlier.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. The supporting characters, fantastic. Natasha Lyonne, like, I love her to begin with. I think the first time I saw her was, Slums of Beverly Hills or something like that. That was one of her like first films that kind of put her on the radar, and I loved her. And then obviously from like Orange is the New Black, loved her character. She's just very down to earth and just very fucking real for this overall terrible fucking movie.
She's hired by Finch to spread his stupid rumors. And then she's like, I spread your rumors, but they didn't work out quite the way they could have. So I spent some of the money on myself, as she should. Then also...
Yep. She's fucking fantastic. And of course, Eugene Levy. What a fucking dad. Is he corny? Yes, absolutely. Yes. But like, who wouldn't open up to your dad if they were like that with you? And the way he like protected him, even when he fucking had sex with the fucking pie. And he's like, oh, we'll just tell your mom we just ate it all. And then the fact that he comes with like the nudie magazines, like trying to harness that energy, like to like direct his energy. I'm like, dude, that's just parenting right there. Like, that's just good fucking parenting. It was definitely touching. Okay. So you ready for the twist here? Here's the twist, ready?
Am I?
Here's the one thing I liked about this movie. The one true thing I liked about this movie. There was no mention of roofies throughout the entire movie. With a movie like this, I felt like this was the kind of movie that it should have been mentioned in and should have been done because of Stifler. I felt like this would have been that movie. And I was kind of waiting for it from the start. I was like, oh, watch. On my notes, I put roofies ? Because I was waiting for it. I was gonna mark every time someone said something about roofies, and they didn't. And I was like, you know what? I'll at least give you that one. At least.
I don't know if that's like an at least thing you should give them.
Maybe not, but I don't know, man. I guess I was just expecting it to be, I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's like, this isn't a plus. It's just like it could have been worse.
That's exactly what it is. It's like, thank you for just being a regular human being, as terrible as you are, but at least you're not like a straight up rapist.
All right, let's rate American
Jesus.
Pie on a scale of 1 to 10. Zach Morris's.
You're going first on this. I'm not doing first.
Oh my God. It's like a 9.5 or a 9.75.
Yeah, I was going to give it about a 9 out of 10. That's what I was going to give it. And literally because I felt like Eugene Levy really brought it through for me.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I guess to be fair, Oz does actually grow as a character through the movie.
Yep.
Ha ha ha. He has character things that aren't bad. He's not the worst. Yeah, 9.5. I'll give it a 9.5.
Yeah. I think you're right with that.
For Eugene Levy being an awesome fucking dad, and for Oz actually growing a bit. What the fuck happened with Kevin? This kid has no personality. Like, he had no personality. He had no interests that we know of. Was he a jock? No. Was he a smart kid? No. Was he philosophical like Finch? No.
No, yeah, you're right. There was nothing to him.
He just had a girlfriend and was somehow also like the leader of their group. Was he the leader of their group because he had a girlfriend?
Probably. I would say yes. I would say that's probably it.
That's the opposite of my high school experience, because anytime I was the girlfriend of somebody who was part of a group of friends that weren't my group of friends, it turned into like, oh, we can't hang out with that guy. He has the girlfriend.
Yeah.
He's boring now. So what the fuck is up with Kevin? Honestly, who is he as a person?
I don't know. The movie's not going to tell you either. We're just going to have to theory craft it into the ground and figure out exactly.
There are no theories. There are no theories. I mean, to be honest, I don't know that Vicky was really like a person either. Like,
no, she wasn't.
The two of them were just like, oh, they're the two in a relationship.
That's what it was.
That's their entire personality.
They were like the filler people of the movie. It's like, hey, these two people are people and they're in a relationship. And look at them. They're going to try to have sex now. You know, it's like, there was nothing to it. The sex scene was fucking terrible and awkward.
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume, I don't remember, for me, but I assume that that's probably what happened for the first time for a lot of people. But it was bad regardless. It was bad. Finally, what's our watch this, not that suggestion?
I'm going to say Booksmart. It's about two girls who are like, oh my God, we've been nerdy our entire high school career. We've missed out on so much stuff. Let's go not be nerdy for a night or something like that. A lot of people say watch Superbad if you like American Pie, which I didn't like American Pie. And I also really fucking hate Superbad. Don't get me started. But then when Booksmart came out, it was referred to as Superbad with girls. But again, sorry, not sorry. I hate Superbad. Booksmart.
I've never watched Superbad,
yeah,
just FYI. I've
okay,
never watched it,
good.
So
you're not missing. Well, personally, I feel like you're not missing out on anything. But Booksmart is so much better than that. And of course, like I said, better than both Superbad and American Pie. It's worth a watch. It's a fun movie. It's a girl-centric movie of it's not about losing your virginity. It's just about like, oh, we're two nerdy girls who forgot to have fun in high school. Let's go have fun. And that's kind of what my college career was like. I was like, oh, I was a nerdy girl in high school and I forgot to have fun. Let's go to college and have too much fun. Too much fun.
Nice. I'll put it on the list. And
all right. So what about you?
Just watch 40-Year-Old Virgin. It's way more classy than this. If you want to watch a movie about someone getting laid, just watch it done properly with, Steve Carell, who's a master at the awkward. Just watch that. I felt like that was better because it wasn't, yes, it was about getting laid, but he wasn't like that. But his friends were. But his friends were really just trying to help him. It wasn't like, oh, we're trying to be macho men. They were just trying to help them in the best way that they knew they can do. I don't know. I felt like it was better.
As we close out the episode, just want to give a shout out to our heroes, to our patron, Tommy of the TKOK Podcast Network. Thank you so much for supporting us. And thank you to our listeners for joining us for 90s and Noughties Cringe Factor on The Big Boss. American Pie. For the most current news and updates about this series, please consider backing our Patreon at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.
Thank you for listening to the Geek Saga Podcast. If you like what you heard, please check out other Geek Saga entertainment endeavors, including the Sagas and Sass webcast and podcast and Ice and Fire Con.